Hello everyone, this is part 5 of What If Naruto Was a Genius at Genjutsu, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
It's been 2 months since what was described as the massacre in Wave. News spread amongst the ninja world of a young blonde-haired boy who was capable of killing Zabuza Momonosuke with ease, and people began to get scared of the Leaf. It looked like they had another Minato Namikaze rising up through the ranks quickly, except this time he was younger rather than older. Naruto himself wasn't happy about all the attention he was getting now. It meant that he had to try harder to keep his skills hidden, more so than he has ever had to. For the last 2 months, Naruto wanted to expand on his jutsu repertoire and spent his time that wasn't spent training his body in his father library. He wrote ideas about jutsu that he wanted to make and/or recreate. One such jutsu that he wanted to recreate was a widespread jutsu that Uchiha Madara was famous for, Kaiten, Goku Mekyaku, or Great Fire Annihilation. It was a personal jutsu that Madara created in the clan wars that was meant to take out hundreds of enemies with one attack. Due to chakra requirements, Naruto took a rough guess at saying he would be the only one ever to be able to use it in the Hidden Leaf for the next couple of centuries. The clones were making progress on jutsu creation or recreation, but it was taking its time, and that was something Naruto didn't mind. However, he did set extra clones to recreate Madara's jutsu. He felt like something was going to happen to the Leaf soon, and even if the people had wronged him worth a lifetime, he still had people he loved and trusted here. A week after the Wave mission, Itachi came back, and the next day they had their eyes swapped under the careful supervision of Naruto's personal nurse that he trusted, and so did Sarutobi, but that didn't stop either of them, reminding her it was part of an ongoing S-class secret. They were both in hospital for a day after and then sent home to rest with both sets of eyes bandaged to allow the muscles to heal and relax before working. Itachi was quite proud of his brother for what he did in Wave, and also quite scared of the fact that he may have trained him too well, and if he were to ever snap in the line of duty, then only a select few would be able to stop him, and even then it would be difficult due to his prowess in Genjutsu. Naruto went to learning his family jutsu in his library, and so far, due to his clones, he had learned many different jutsu so far for his fire and lightning element. He felt that since everyone knew his genjutsu was totally awesome thanks to the bingo book, then he should have a backup such as ninjutsu. He decided that his taijutsu was good so far and still sent clones to practice the katas for muscle memory, so he didn't forget it, but he didn't practice it as much. He decided to grow his hair out for the hell of it. He was getting tired of having it short and thought about changing it. Imagine his shock that due to its natural spikiness and length it looks very similar to Uchiha Madara's hairstyle yet lacked the color. He decided to tie it in several knots going down his back to prevent it from looking like Madara's. After they got back from Wave, Naruto noticed, much to his annoyance, that Kurenai was acting differently. He felt he should just leave it be, but his training kicked in from Itachi and his mother about reading faces to help in battle. She was feeling guilty about something, and Naruto found it rather sad how easy she was to read. She was a jonin after all and shouldn't be easy. Naruto wondered what was wrong with her, but instead of asking her straight away, he decided to ask Itachi or Mikoto if either knew what was wrong. Neither knew obviously, and he felt like a moron for asking them, so he decided to ask Old Man Hokage. The Hokage had initially been happy to see the blonde in his office after all. Even though he changed dramatically, he was still his surrogate grandson who he loved dearly, but that soon changed with the topic of conversation. Flashback. Yo old man. Hello Naruto, how are you today? Rather annoyed. I feel like Kurenai is hiding something from me. She looks like she feels regret and guilt about it, but I am not sure if I should ask or not. The Hokage was beginning to sweat now and was cursing Itachi for teaching Naruto how to read emotions on faces, but what he didn't know is that Naruto witnessed the slight flinch in his posture and twitch of the lips into a frown before disappearing. It's official, someone is hiding stuff from me again, and I don't like it. You know what, old man? Forget about it, I will leave it till after the Chunin exams. Said Old Man let a small sigh of relief go, which once again Naruto noticed. He sighed to himself and walked out of the office. The Hokage was now having a terrible day. Kurenai was indeed having to keep something from our young Uchiha, and it wasn't very nice what she was keeping either. Flashback in a flashback. Good game. Kurenai was having a terrible day. Ever since she learned what Naruto did in Wave, she had been feeling guilty because it was basically her fault for everything. It had been 2 days since their return and the unveiling of the newest bingo booker from Konoha, and she decided to voice her opinions to the Hokage. Walking past the secretary and into the office ignoring the guards, she asked for a private audience from the Hokage, which he agreed to. "So Kurenai-chan, how goes your mission?" "Ahead of schedule, sir, but I feel terrible." "How so?" "Did you not read the report from Wave? He slaughtered over 300 men just because someone hurt me, and all for my mission." The Hokage sighed. Someone on the council found out about her mission to train the demon brat, and the civilian council thought that in their infinite wisdom that he should be controlled, which was seconded by his advisors including Danzo. Not to mention that I and Asuma are very close now because he finally admitted he wanted a proper long-term relationship unlike before but can't due to this mission. "I know you two are close, but keep with the mission, and when the time comes let him down gently so he does trust again, because I don't need to tell you what will happen if his heart breaks. He will never trust anyone but family again." She sighed before nodding and leaving the age-old Hokage to his paperwork. End flashback. Stupid civilian council and stupid power grab schemes. End flashback. 2 months had passed after they returned. He was called for a team meeting with his team at Training Ground 7 at the usual time, which for Naruto and Kakashi was 12 and the other 2 was 9 in the morning. He wondered what this meeting was about. They never had meetings anymore since the first one was such a pain in the ass to listen to the banshee screech. He soon got his answer when he took his time to notice all the foreign ninja around the village. The Chunin exams were on and hosted here this year. He grinned. Finally a chance to not only get off his cousin's team but also get his date with Kurenai. This was going to be magnificent. He arrived at the training grounds to find his normal teammates just sitting down and waiting. Kakashi arrived not 5 minutes later and handed out the forms for participation. He had already promised the old man that he wouldn't show off his Sharingan in the finals or the Chunin exams for that matter. Who said he needed it? He was proficient in most areas without the Sharingan and could handle himself quite well. Naruto immediately signed it and handed it back to Kakashi to hand to the Hokage with a smile on his face. He went home to prepare and inform his mother and brother, but not before Kakashi told him to be at the academy for 9 tomorrow in room 301. The next morning he went to the academy as told, only to meet Sasuke getting his ass handed to him by some guy in a green jumpsuit and giant eyebrows. He couldn't stop laughing for 5 minutes. He met up with his team and went to the exam room where Sasuke was jumped by his hordes of fangirls. He looked to Naruto for help, but his mind was elsewhere. He was staring at the Ichibi container from Suna. He was confused. Why send a container to another village to attend the exams, especially when said container is unstable? He remembered how he had to save Konohamaru from the Suna Genin yesterday and how the man with the makeup was going to hurt someone he considered a little brother. He was furious at the time and placed them both under a Genjutsu where they were met by their worst nightmares. The Ichibi came out when the screaming had stopped and both his siblings were on the floor unconscious. He would have just thought he was another batshit insane Genin if it wasn't for Hikari within him telling him that the Genin was batshit insane because the demon was even more crazy. He felt sorry for his Jinchuriki brother but ignored it since he had his own problems to deal with. A tall man with a bandana and trench coat appeared in the room. Naruto knew this was the head interrogator at the T&I department, Ibiki. He had quite the reputation as the sadist and Naruto knew it was true. This was one of the few people that knew about Naruto's true skill. Well, he didn't know his true skill, but he knew that he was smarter and stronger than most genin. Naruto knew his game as soon as he turned up. This would be a written test where he would freak out the genin and make them doubt themselves, leading them to quit the exams. Brutal yet efficient, he mused. And like he said, it was exactly that, but with a twist thrown in at the end which he didn't see coming. He sent a nod towards Ibiki saying he understood and appreciated the effort he was putting in trying to get the other teams to quit. Before long, just over half the teams remained and he said those 2 words that sent a feeling of relief over most genin: "You pass." He started to explain what the test was actually for since no one understood. Before he could explain much though, there was a banner that came through the window in a ball-like shape that then spread out to say, "The sexy and single Proctor Anko Mitarashi." Naruto sighed. This was Anko, second in command at the T&I department and another person who knew Naruto faked his strength. If he knew Anko, then she would try to make him fail just for the fun of it. Sadistic bitch. Alright brats, get to training ground 44 for the survival test. If you aren't there in half hour then you fail. She jumped back out the window and somehow the band went with her. Weird. Alone Jenin stood up and looked around. Does anyone know where training ground 44 is? No one answered. He sighed and grabbed his teammates before shunching them to the ground. Listening to the banshee bitch about not being able to find the field would be annoying as hell otherwise. Anko explained the rules to them since they were first to arrive and told them to wait. Naruto created 100 clones and had them henge into flies. When the genin arrived he assigned one clone to each squad including the leaf's own for protection, well protection for the leaf and destruction for the rest. The clones would wait and unhenge whilst in the forest. They would take the team by surprise knocking them out and taking their scrolls. He had a feeling this wouldn't work with the sand team but did it anyway. Anko once again went over the rules but this time scared a few genin via kunai before screaming for them to go. Naruto smirked and took off into the forest but not before getting the faintest whiff of snake in his nostrils. He frowned at this. He never liked snakes. Naruto, thinking 2 steps ahead as per usual, deduced that the only other person with the smell of snakes should be Orochimaru, and since it didn't smell of dango as well then he had a pedophile after him which made him annoyed. He knocked both his teammates out and replaced them with a sturdy shadow clone that had higher chakra levels to handle blows before assigning clones to run to the tower with his actual team. He gave the clones his scroll and told them to meet some of his clones on the way to get another scroll. They nodded before running away, leaving the boss to deal with the snake in the grass. He couldn't understand what he wanted. It had to be something that only this team had that no other had, and it had to be a very precious thing. Come out, snake, I can smell you. A rather tall girl for her age came out of the bushes and snarled at him. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You're Orochimaru. A woman. Am I insulted or not? I don't know. He grinned. Kakukaku Naruto-kun, so nice to see you. It appears you know me. How? Oh, you know, rumors around the village, bingo books, and of course my favorite. You're the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Naruto just continued grinning, and for some reason this infuriated Orochimaru. Why was this child not scared? Was his life in this village so bad that he would throw it away? Well, that's nice and all, but why don't you tell me why you're here? Well, I want to give Sasuke-kun a present. I'm not sure if he swings that way or not. I'm not gay. Chasing little boys tells me different. Shut up. Did I hit a sore spot? Orochimaru was getting mad and charged Naruto. This boy would die for insolence. Unfortunately, Naruto had other ideas. What did Sarutobi Gigi teach you anyway? Can't you tell when you're in a genjutsu? So much for the so-called prodigy of the Sannin. That stopped him immediately. If this was a genjutsu he couldn't tell, and that annoyed him to no end. He tried to dispel it but nothing happened. He tried again and again before it broke, showing the exact same thing he saw before. Why did he make a genjutsu with everything the same? Simple, he had already won and wanted to waste time. Ho ho, you dispelled it. Well done. Quiet boy before I make you one of my experiments. Yee, that's not going to happen. You're still in a genjutsu that I placed on you. It was double layered, and the second layer was a genjutsu that slowed time down for the user inside the genjutsu, so what has been 5 minutes in here has been well over an hour out there, and my team is already at the tower. I figured it was Sasuke you wanted for his eyes or something, so I took precautions. The 2 teammates I was with earlier were hanged bunchins. I win, you pedophile. He said before dispelling the genjutsu completely and finding that he was in some serious pain. Apparently the brat took the time to give some much-deserved revenge for his victims and beat the shit out of him with his fists without him knowing. He let loose an angry roar into the sky, showing how mad he was. Naruto was at the tower in his bedroom by the window listening the roar that filled the forest. He smiled and decided to go see the Hokage about this. Walking to the temporary command post in the tower he met with the Hokage, Ibiki and Anko. The Hokage put up a barrier around them to keep all quiet. All right. Orochimaru is in the forest. They all blinked at him before. What? He came after my team in the forest. I smelled him before he met us, and so I knocked both Sasuke and Sakura out and sent them here with my clones with our scrolls so we could pass. Also, don't expect many other teams besides the Leaf and Sand teams to pass. I had clones trailing them all, but it appears only the Sand team was good enough to get past my clone. My clones gave out spare scrolls to every one of our teams so they could pass. He grinned. Back up, how did you escape Orochimaru? He underestimated me, so I put him in a dual-layered genjutsu showing everything exactly the same as it was before, and we talked. I told him 5 minutes later after I finished taunting him about the genjutsu, and he tried 3 or 4 times to break it before telling him it was dual-layered. The second layer was meant to slow time down when in the Genjutsu, so my clone and him were in it for over an hour whilst I was here and it was just under 5 minutes in there. He sounded pretty mad when I heard the rage-filled roar across the forest 5 minutes ago. They all just blinked before dismissing him to go sleep or something for the next 4.5 days, so that was ready for the finals or prelims depending on how many arrived. Time skip prelims ***. All the Leaf teams were present with the only foreign team being the Suna team with the Ichibi container. He would have to fix that later or inform Sarutobi if he made it to the finals. It didn't bode well for Konoha as a whole if a foreign Jinchuriki makes it to the finals without being detected as a Jinchuriki. Presume Hayat coughs like he has lung cancer. Welcome and congratulations about making it to the finals. Now without waiting any longer we will pick teams for the finals in 1 month's time. Hokage-sama, can I interrupt? What is it, Hayat? Well, I was going to take it from there, so. Fine. There are too many people, so we are going to have prelims. You will fight whoever your name is drawn against. The matches were being drawn and Naruto tuned out. Ever since he started training at the age of 4 he began excelling at an extremely fast pace. He hated it. There was no thrill to battle. Only when he battled to protect those he loved did he get the thrill of the match. To face a greater opponent than yourself and come out victorious. He didn't even get this when he fought in the Forest of Death against Orochimaru. Well, not fought, more like tricked. It infuriated him to no end. He had to test his limits. He wanted to know what they were and if he could push past them, but he also wanted to know where this need for battle came from. He presumed it came from his Uchiha blood and holding a 50 meters tall demon in his stomach. By the time he was paying attention again he noticed it was Hinata Hyuga versus Neji Hyuga. The match itself was rather dramatic, with Neji obviously hating Hinata and Hinata being too kind to actually hurt Neji, so she lost and rather badly in the end. Neji actually tried to kill her with several strikes around the chest area hoping to damage her heart, causing cardiac arrest, but the Jonin stepped in at the last minute to save Hinata from certain death, only to prolong it until proper medical attention was provided. Naruto couldn't be sure, but he's certain that some damage had already been dealt to her. He sighed, not really caring. Gaara the Ichibi container was obviously batshit insane and he was facing someone equally insane. Rock Lee. Maybe not the same type as insane, but still, the match itself was a rather good look into what made Gaara. He had little to no taijutsu or ninjutsu. He controlled his sand and had an automatic defense, although Naruto wasn't sure if the sand was from Ichibi or his family's Kekkei Genkai, since Suna had something similar before. The match shown one big opening to anyone who fought Gaara. A defense that reacts is never absolute. If you get enough speed, then it can't react in time, allowing you to hit the opponent. This was all well and good in theory, but apparently Gaara was a sore loser and had a second layer of sand on his skin to provide extra cover. With it cracked he was mad. Apparently he was never hurt before, so seeing him take a punch or two was laughable, but it all came to an end when Lee opened the inner gates on his body and shredded his muscles in his legs and lower back, which led to him getting caught by Gaara's sand and crushing his left leg and right arm before his sensei intervened to save his student's life. Tenten faced the Ichibi's sister. Her name was Temari and she was a wind user, whereas Tenten was a weapons user, both melee and throw able, meaning she was totally outclassed when it came to fighting because Temari used her fan to simply swat away the weapons like bugs. In the end Tenten lost, and painfully, by landing on her iron fan after being tossed in the air. These sand nins were rather brutal, Naruto thought, and it excited him to have the chance at maybe fighting one like himself, albeit less trained. Naruto of Konoha. Naruto's head perked up at that, seeing he was about to fight V's Sasuke Uchiha of Konoha. Naruto grinned, threatened to split his face when he heard Sasuke's name. He had been meaning to beat the shit out of the Uchiha for a while now, and to be able to do it in front of everyone was a plus in his books. Sasuke was already walking down to the arena wearing his patented Uchiha smirk when Naruto was about to jump over the railings before Kakashi grabbed him. Go easy on him. You're obviously going to win, but don't humiliate him too much. Kakashi whispered, so only he heard. Naruto sighed. I'll try not to injure him. Naruto jumped over the railings and landed in the arena. I thought you weren't going to come, Dobe. Naruto just ignored him and stood there with his arms crossed and a small smirk in place on his face. People didn't understand what he was smiling at, but those who knew him understood. Those who truly knew him. Activate your Sharingan, Uchiha. I want your best. A simple statement, but enough to cause him to get angry. What right has this Dobe got to demand his best? What right do you have to demand my best? Your parents probably abandoned you at birth because they knew you were a Dobeiyu clan-less loser and your mother was probably some no-name chunin that spread 'em too easy. Kakashi sighed. Naruto was going to forget what he said now. Sasuke just had to mention his parents, didn't he? You know what, Sasuke, I think it's time you get to know a little bit of truth about me. He closed his eyes whilst the Hokage prayed to God that he wasn't going to do what he thought he was going to do, but his prayers were unanswered as they opened to show a fully matured 3 Tomoe Sharingan. Everyone gasped and Kiba summed it up in 2 words. The fuck? Sasuke was seething. How do you have those eyes? You don't serve those eyes. Naruto stood calmly watching Sasuke get more and more mad before simply replying, I got them from my mother. Those who knew his mother was Kushina didn't understand, but others did. I didn't show these eyes in public to get you to stop being such a douche. No, I don't rely on my eyes like you do, you little fool, my foolish cousin. I bought 'em out to show you these. He said whilst his eyes in front of everyone morphed into his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, even though people didn't know the difference. Another row of gasps from most the Jonin who knew what those eyes meant, to kill your best friend. Now you fool, you will witness the day your life became hell for 72 hours, and if you survive that long I will forfeit. Tsukuyomi. Sasuke's world fell to nothing whilst he was pinned to a cross, Sharingan blazing. The clouds and moon were black and the sky was red with crows flying in the background. Fool, you had to mention my mother, didn't you? Now you will pay, but first, do you know where you are? A Genjutsu. Yes, and the most powerful Genjutsu known to man. This is the ultimate Genjutsu provided by the Mangekyo Sharingan. I will not tell you how to get the Mangekyo and you will never know. I only unlocked it by accident, but to use it causes blindness eventually, however I don't have that problem. Naruto faded from view and left Sasuke hanging there whilst a voice projected across to him, in here I am God, for 72 hours you are mine to do with what I feel like. All of a sudden scenes started playing in his mind of the Uchiha massacre, of how he walked in on Naruto and Itachi in their Anbu gear and all the dead bodies he saw. When this was finished the voice spoke again, 71 hours, 59 minutes and 59 seconds remaining Sasuke Uchiha. 20 hours later and his mind is still hanging on strong but weakened severely. Naruto decided to take a different approach to the fight and stops the clips of the massacre. You will now be stabbed for the remaining 52 hours repeatedly with this katana. Naruto stated whilst killing him with the katana, but all of a sudden Sasuke gasped for air as he was tied to the cross again, alive and well. Fool, I am God in here, I chose when you die and when you don't. Another 20 hours passed and he was just barely hanging on. For the last 20 hours you will be tortured by a friend of mine for insulting my mother. He stated whilst Hikari in her giant fox form came forward. Meet Kyuubi no Kitsune. Both Kyuubi and Naruto smiled. Before Naruto left her to her business, he didn't want to know what sort of shit she got up to in there. The Genjutsu dropped and Sasuke screamed like a little girl before collapsing. Foolish little cousin, he said in a cold voice that sent shivers down the spines of most people there. Without even waiting for the announcement of him whining, he shunshined in a flock of crows back to his seat in the rails and sat down, ignoring all questions posed to him. Kurenai looked his way and gave him a look of regret which he could only assume was to do with the secret she was holding. He loved her dearly with his life, but they were growing apart recently due to Kurenai holding secrets. He sighed and waited for the rounds to be announced for the tournament in 1 month, but before that happened Naruto activated his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and used Tsukuyomi on everyone present to make them forget about what he did in his match. He let Kakashi, Kurenai and the Hokage remember, but everyone else he wiped. Whilst he was doing the Ichibi container, he found that when he entered the mindscape the Ichibi was there on a very small leash with a 4-year-old Gaara. He sighed. This was obviously the representation of where he started listening to his demons, so he walked past him and told the kid to follow. Both of them walked over the Ichibi before Naruto shone his Sharingan at it, breaking a Genjutsu that was placed on him. He thanked him profusely and allowed his host to sleep. In return the older Gaara told him about the invasion and how Orochimaru and the Sand planned to invade during the finals. Naruto could only smile. The thrill may not be there when facing a single enemy, but what would happen when he faced an entire army? He couldn't wait. Matches were drawn and he got Neji whilst Gaara got his sister, and a few other unimportant matches were picked. In the last month Naruto trained harder than he has ever pushed himself for one purpose and one purpose only, to protect those that were precious to him in the upcoming invasion. He already informed the Hokage about it and they had agreed to people's various roles in the attack. Flashback ***. Hokage-sama. Naruto said whilst he bowed. With this one word he had the Hokage worried. Naruto never used respective suffixes like this, which meant something was up and it was serious. Naruto, what's wrong? The sand and sound are going to invade. This got an immediate reaction out of the Hokage. What? How do you know this? Remember the prelims? Well, everyone else doesn't. I kind of Tsukuyomi'd them all into thinking I did something else to beat Sasuke so they don't remember my Sharingan. However, when I did this to Gaara from the Sand team, I entered his mindscape. We all know he is the Ichibi container and is known for being bloodthirsty, but what you don't know is that for the last 400 to 500 years Ichibi has been under a powerful Genjutsu making him that way. I entered his mindscape, met a 4-year-old version of Gaara and freed the Ichibi of the Genjutsu. They both thanked me and told me of what they intend. Gaara is now able to sleep as well. I kind of thought something was up anyway since the Sand sent a Jinchuriki to a foreign nation's Chunin exams. He said with a nonchalant roll of the shoulders. This is very serious. Calm down, old man. Gaara isn't going to fight us and his siblings won't either since they are scared shitless of him. I'll leave the Kazekage up to you, but one of my clones will be hanged into a fly on your shoulder should you need backup. I on the other hand will be clearing the city of enemies. What do you mean clear the city of enemies? You're a genin, a strong one but still a genin. I mean just that. Ever since I awakened my eternal Mangekyo I have had a thrill for battle, but only when it is protecting my loved ones for some reason I do not know why, and it is utterly infuriating me to know that no matter how much I battle I can't get the thrill. I'm sure Itachi will be having this issue as well, but he keeps his emotions in check better than I. What will I do if you die? Mikoto and Itachi will be grief-stricken, not to mention me, Yugao, Kurenai, Genma and Kakashi. If it gets bad I will summon the boss of the Crows and Toads if I get the contract before then. Also I can use Susanoo in full, which is the ultimate defense of the Mangekyo Sharingan. It looks like an ethereal warrior. I don't use it because when I use it I tend to go overkill, and it stands at 40 meters tall, which can be seen by all in the village. Also, as for Kurenai missing me, I doubt it. She is hiding something from me and it is tearing us apart. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time I actually make Chunin if I still want the date she promised or not. And finally, I grow tired of hiding who I am. I will reveal myself to the world in the aftermath of the invasion to boost morale within our ranks. Fine, but we will look into this thrill for battle thing. It sounds an awful lot like what Madara had. It might be something to do with the eternal awakening. He nodded and started to walk away before the Hokage called him back. Your godfather is at the hot springs, so go meet him. He began to walk away once more and was about to reach for the door when he stopped and looked down. You wouldn't happen to know what Kurenai is keeping from me, would you, Hokage-sama? He asked in an all too innocent voice. I told you already that I didn't. That's what I thought. He walked out of the room with a sigh. He now had his suspicions of what was being kept from him by using his common sense to come to a conclusion, and if it was what he thought then he wouldn't be happy and likely never trust anyone outside his family again. End flashback. He spent time with his family that he hadn't been able to in a long while due to missions and being out of the village. His mother heard what he did to Sasuke and she wasn't pleased. She understood why he did it. After all, he basically called her and her best friend a whore in front of everyone, but that was no excuse. He told both of them of the coming invasion and his mother agreed that she wouldn't go to the finals since she was meant to be dead and a Sharingan user would defiantly set off some alarms. He told them of his role in the battle and they were both shocked. Mikoto was about to go and hunt Sarutobi down before he explained that he was best suited for this due to his summons, Sharingan and Susanoo, that was somehow more advanced than his brother's since he could use all 4 arms on it instead of 2 like his brother. He then went on to explain this feeling about fighting he had, and his mother was shocked and started to think that her son was beginning to like killing, which was quickly batted away from her mind as he explained it only happened after he awakened his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. He had asked his brother if he had the same issue from time to time and he agreed, but since he was an Anbu captain he got battles quite regularly and knew better to keep his emotions in check than him. He promised to be careful when he was fighting. He understood that his family would be at a loss if he suddenly died. The day after the meeting with the Hokage, Naruto went and met his godfather, which was an interesting meeting to say the least. Flashback. Naruto was walking to the hot springs to look for his godfather. From what he knew about him from Mikoto, Itachi and Sarutobi, he understood that he was a huge pervert and wrote the Ika Ika books that Kakashi read. He honestly didn't care about that because all older ninja have their vices that allow him to deal with the stress of fighting, but so God help him if he's ever peeked on someone he loved. His thoughts were suddenly brought to an abrupt halt when he heard a slight giggle coming from the cliffs overlooking the female portion of the hot springs. He smiled evilly before sneaking behind him and kicking the pervert in the balls, which unfortunately for him made him lose balance and fall into the bathhouse. He heard the sounds that could be described as the righteous feminine fury beating down on his godfather. Against his better judgment, he peeked over the edge and saw several of Konoha's most wanted women beating the crap out of his godfather. Kurenai looked up from the Sannin to see from where he fell and saw Naruto smiling down, trying to hold in a laugh. It was obvious to her what happened to Jiraiya, so she left without even saying a word to Naruto or thanking him for stopping his godfather from peeking on her and her friends. 5 minutes later, Naruto got tired of waiting for the Gama Sennin before walking into the female side of the bathhouse and dragging him out, carefully placing the women under a genjutsu so they wouldn't know he was there, and grabbed the pervert. Splashing some water over the badly beating Sannin, he shot up straight and immediately looked for who pushed him in and, more importantly, who kicked him in the balls. Whoa there, Ero Sennin, calm down. Ero Sennin, do you know who I am, kid? Jiraiya the Gama Sennin and my supposed godfather. That's right, I am Jiraiya the Gallant, the Toad Sage and your godfather. About 30 seconds passed before. What? Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Uchiha, he said with a smirk whilst he activated his Sharingan at the 3 Tomoid level. A minute or two passed whilst he was looking at his so-called godson that he had never met. So you're Minato's kid, and Kushina's. He nodded. Then how in blue blazes do you have a Sharingan? And fully matured at that. He sighed. Mum was barren due to Kyuubi's seal being rushed, so Mikoto-san gave her one of her eggs, which was implanted into her, and then my parents went down and dirty, and boom, here I am. As to the Sharingan, I activated it when I was falling to my death off of the Hokage mountain when I was 5 due to no one being there to look after me like my godfather should have been. He said in a slightly agitated voice. Jiraiya wilted under his gaze. How are you alive? I fell to my death and met Kyuubi, who isn't evil or anything, just misunderstood. I came back to life with a sense of betrayal of the village and activated my Mangekyo, to which I later swapped eyes with Itachi and have the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Aha. Now on to business. I don't care that you weren't here because I did get a chance to have family at one point in my life, and I still don't care if you don't want to be in my life because I can honestly say from the bottom of my heart I just don't give a shit. But there are 2 things I would like from you, and one of them is needed if you want to be in my life. The first one is that in my father's will I was to sign the Toad summoning contract along with my Crow one, and the second thing that I need if you want to be in my life is training. Being the marvelous spy master you should know that we are going to be invaded, and I will be on the front taking out the enemies hopefully before they have chance to actually do damage to Konoha. I am strong, probably the strongest of my age group, and almost stronger than Itachi when it comes to Genjutsu alone. My taijutsu is nothing to scoff at, and my ninjutsu, well, let's just say I leave shadow clones learning jutsu from my father library daily to lean and master. Okay brat, no need to be so apathetic all the time, and for what it's worth I received a letter from Sarutobi saying you were dead, hence I haven't been here in the last 13 years. I doubt the old man would have done that, but his advisors have his stamp as well, and since I hadn't set them straight at the time, then it is highly likely that they forged it. Jiraiya growled openly at that before taking a scroll off his back and opening it in front of his godson. This is the Toad summoning contact, sign it with your blood. He nodded and bit his finger before writing his name, Naruto Namikaze, since that what he went by on scrolls like this. Jiraiya nodded before taking his godson to our isolated training ground and telling him to do the summoning ritual as usual, but think about toads instead of crows since he had 2 contracts. His chakra control was much better than what it was at the time of summoning the Crow Boss and his brother, but that didn't stop him from majorly overcalculation the amount of chakra needed to summon Gamabunta the chief toad. The entire training ground and the one next to it was covered in smoke. He thanked the gods that it was empty. When the smoke cleared, the entire Toad clan was there, including the 2 elders that taught Jiraiya Sage Mode. He openly gaped at the display of chakra. Jiraiya boy, why have you summoned us? Me. Do you honestly think I have enough chakra to summon the entire Toad clan, even down to the last tiny tadpole? Well, I hoped so, since I only know you as our summoner. Ah, my bad. It was me that summoned you all. Every Toad looked to the right to see a 13-year-old version of what Minato looked like and gasped, what? Do I have something on my face? No Gaki, you look like your father. Oh, sup. He waved to them. Father. Fukusaku finally spoke. Meet Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Uchiha. Minato's and Kushina's brat. I let him sign the contract because it was in Minato's will for him too. So you want to be tested for the rites of summoning? Yes please. No need Gaki, you can summon us. My name is Gamabunta, I am the chief toad and I was your father's familiar. My son Gamakichi will be yours. A small red and orange toad sprang forth and landed at his feet. Yo. Thanks for letting me summon your clan, but you guys should go. I think the chakra usage and smoke has attracted some unwanted attention. He smiled, they nodded back and all dispersed before he turned to a fish-looking Jiraiya. What? What do you mean what? You just summoned the entire Toad clan. Do you know how much chakra that takes? Nope, he said in a happy tone. About 2.5 times the amount of chakra I and the Hokage have. He said flatly. Oh well, now what about training? Fine Gaki, activate your Sharingan and copy this technique. He went through several hand seals before saying, Ninpu, Hari Jizo, his hair extended around him and covered him in a defensive type of barrier. This is a defensive barrier I made with hair, it can hold anything lower than AB rank jutsu and it is also extremely useful for taijutsu defense. He let the technique go before going through some more hand seals and saying, Ninpu, Hari Jigoku, and needles of hair shot towards a tree opposite. This was meant to be used with the first technique I shown you but can be used on its own obviously. Now get and let me do some research. Come find me if you need any help or any more techniques. Naruto nodded before thanking him and leaving him to his research. End flashback ***. After his eventful meeting with his godfather, Naruto decided to spend the rest of the month working on his jutsu recreation for the upcoming invasion. He firmly believed that these jutsu will help save his and his friends' lives. He was in the library at one point, well his clones were and one of them was at the desk his father used before him, writing down jutsu theory before becoming stuck on a particular hand seal sequence. Becoming increasingly frustrated, the clone banged his head repeatedly on the desk only for something to fall on his head and dispel. Naruto got the memories and went to check what it was. Apparently above his father's desk there was an engraved leaf insignia like on the headbands that the ninja wear, and the middle bit of the leaf fell off and landed on the clone's head. Naruto didn't like the idea that part of his father's library was falling to pieces, so he went to put it back but found inside 2 scrolls. Genuinely surprised, he pulled out the scrolls to find his father's legendary techniques, the Rasengan and the Hiraishin. Naruto took note that they were extremely well hidden apart from the fact that the little hole had no seals active over it, and he had to admit it didn't matter because he would have never thought to have looked there. Placing the Hiraishin back in the hole, he left some clones to work on the Rasengan, hoping to get it down within the 2 weeks that were left before the finals. A clone dispelled after reading the instructions and he couldn't stop laughing. Apparently his father had made this jutsu and explained it with children in mind to allow them to understand how to create the ball of chakra. I mean seriously, who uses water balloons? Step 1 and 2 were both about using chakra and learning how to manipulate it into a shape. He finished these quite quickly due to his elemental practice with both Raiten and Kaiten chakra needing something similar for the advanced exercises he came up with. Step 3 was combining step 1 and 2, which Naruto found quite difficult, like looking left and right at the same time, and it irked him to no end. He eventually found a way around this by using a shadow clone to perform step 2 whilst he performed step 1, but wasn't happy with it due to the fact that Itachi had drilled into him perfection when it came to jutsu. He told his mother and brother about finding the scrolls for his father's jutsu and they were both happy for him. His brother asked him if he could learn the Rasengan but said that the Hiraishin was his father's legacy to him and him alone until his children were old enough. Naruto agreed but was sad that he didn't want to learn Hiraishin. However, he understood where his brother was coming from. With 2 days left and about 400 balloons for stage 3 wasted, Naruto finally finished the Rasengan, but not without the help of an army of clones. He had to give his old man credit, he was a genius in every sense of the word, and whilst some of his father's genius passed to him in certain areas such as jutsu theory and creation, he did not think he was on the same level as his father but felt that he made up for it in sheer determination. Finally, the day of the finals arrived. He was standing in the center of the arena with the rest of the finalists. His brother was in the stands with Sasuke and he had a small smile of pride on his face watching him. His promotion was a definite thing. The exams were just formality. Being the Genjutsu expert he was and knowing the plans for the invasion ahead of time allowed him to see that there were several Jonin in the stadium under a Genjutsu henge so the enemies couldn't tell them apart from random civilians. However, if you were a Genjutsu specialist you could tell that there was a Genjutsu in place over certain civilians. He was brought out of his thoughts when a cough drew the attention of finalists. The same sickly proctor that was in the prelims was standing in front of them looking as sick as ever. Naruto was wondering if he faked his illness like he himself faked being dead last. Apparently he was scheduled to track the Sand Jonin known as Baki before Naruto gave the Hokage knowledge on the invasion. He would have been killed due to the fact that he couldn't hide from enemies thanks to his cough and that would have made his friend Yugao sad. Luckily he was called off it and Anbu were assigned thanks to Naruto's information to which Yugao thanked him continuously until he said there was no need to thank him. He still coughs like he has lung cancer. Welcome to the finals of the Chunin exams. Look alive, you guys are the main attraction. The Hokage stood up trying his best not to ignore the focus ekage that was beside him to deliver his speech to begin the Chunin exam finals. Welcome one and all to the Chunin exams finals. He received a roar of approval from the crowd. Now that I have said welcome, let's enjoy the exams. Please do not leave your seats until the interval and even then do not leave the stadium. Thank you and enjoy. He said in a happy tone before sitting back down. All right, you heard the Hokage. All of you except Neji, Hyuga and Naruto Uzumaki go and wait in the contestants box. 2 minutes later and Naruto and Neji were alone on the field staring at each other. Are both fighters ready? He got 2 nods. Begin. Nothing happened for a moment before Neji smirked and said, you should give up dead last. Fate has decided that I am to be victorious. In a matter-of-fact tone like he knew he was going to win. I hate it when people underestimate me. Naruto said plainly in a monotone voice that reminded several Jonins of Itachi Uchiha. Neji raised an eyebrow. Fate has determined me to win from birth. I am to be a genius selected by fate and you are the dead last selected by fate. Mention fate once more and I'm going to test out a new genjutsu on you that will be extremely painful. He said with slightly narrowed eyes. The Jonin that knew of his hidden strength and penchant for genjutsu cringed. They all knew that he had skills in the art that surpassed Itachi at his age and even Kurenai now. Fate has. He didn't get to finish. Naruto determined his genjutsu level to be high enough and Hikari explained that he should be able to cast genjutsu with eye contact without the Sharingan now like he does with jutsu depending if he memorized the chakra flow or not for the jutsu. Naruto locked eyes without the Sharingan and calmly stated, Magen, Noro no Tori. Seconds passed as the crowd watched on and saw Neji with a glossed look in his eyes showing he is currently under a genjutsu and Naruto standing there with his arms crossed before Neji starts screaming and holding his head in pain. Those that knew of the cage bird seal that was branded on every branch member knew what it looked like but the Hyuga knew it was a genjutsu. After a minute or two of screaming he stopped the genjutsu and Neji was out cold on the floor drooling. Brutal but effective. I warned him not to mention fate. He said in nothing more than a whisper as he was announced the winner. Everyone in the contestant box except Gaara looked at him strangely. What? I warned him and genjutsu can be damn painful. He ignored all the matches until the second round and heard his name called again. Apparently he was fighting Gaara. They both looked at each other and nodded before shunshining to the field in their respective flickers of both sand and crows. Many were surprised to see that he knew Itachi's crow Shunshin and wondered if he was training the boy but he refused to answer questions even to Sasuke who was trying still to get Itachi to train him. Naruto looked into the eyes of Gaara, his Jinchuriki brother in all but blood. Let's give them a good show, brother. Gaara actually smiled, scaring the shit out of the Suna team. Agreed brother, let's see how one does against 9. Jonin who knew of the plan but didn't know of what Gaara contained widened their eyes and civilians that were smart enough to pick up the reference hoped that he would kill their local demon. Just as they were about to begin feathers started to fall from the sky. Apparently Orochimaru ordered the invasion to be moved up in time due to his previous experience with Naruto in the Forest of Death. Looks like we have to wait brother, contain your family and friends and try your best to contain Sunanins. I'm going to the front and I will try not to kill Sunanins since Orochimaru is behind this. Gaara nodded in understanding before shunshining to the contestants box and wrapping a sand dome around his siblings and Jonin sensei only to shunshin off again to place more Suna ninja in the dome. The Jonin under the Genjutsu henge released it and started fighting both sound and sand ninja. Both were falling rather quickly due to the fact that Konoha employed its rather famous teamwork and utilized the element of surprise. Naruto appeared in front of Kakashi and the other Jonin. I have orders Kakashi and you know about Gaara, so I'll be off then to get lost on the road to life, he said before disappearing in a crackle of lightning for speed. He developed two different shunshuns, one of them was developed for speed and one of them was developed for distraction, hence the lightning and crows. Naruto reached a roof far from the action before going through several hand seals and saying, Kuchio's no Jutsu, Karasu no Senshi Ryoden, Crow Warrior Brigade. 100 poofs of smoke appeared before him and crows wearing different sets of armor stood looking at their summoner. Naruto-sama, why have you summoned the entire brigade? My home is being invaded, you are to search the village and attack any ninja wearing sand or sound headbands, kill them if you want, it doesn't matter to me. Yes sir. The lead crow practically shouted in glee, he hardly ever got his entire brigade to fight together anymore. The crows all flew away in different directions before Naruto himself sensed a large amount of chakra being used near the main gate. He surmised that it was being used to summon something since it was about the size needed for a boss summon or a large summon. Rushing to the front gate, Naruto found it slightly unnerving how the village was empty of shinobi except in the stadium, and then he remembered the three-stage plan that the Hokage came up with for any invasion. Stage 1. Secure prisoners. Stage 2. Evacuate civilians with Genin whilst Chunin evacuate VIPs. Stage 3. Retaliate. Naruto wasn't going to let them into the village because of the amount of damage a summons that size could do, so before they would enter he would have to take care of them. He was starting to feel the thrill of battle. He was going to enjoy the battle but not the killing itself, however that was the life of a shinobi. Arriving at the gate he shunshined to the top of the arch so he could see the approaching threat. There were 3 snakes the size of a large train. He sighed and pumped enough chakra to summon the big 3 feet as Jiraiya called them, Gamabunta, Gamahero and Gamaken. Kuchio's no Jutsu. Naruto was standing atop Gamabunta's head. All right boys, listen up. We are being invaded and I figured you guys would like some snakeskin wallets. Let's go show those fools why you do not mess with our homes, shall we? What do you say, Bunta, Hiro and Ken? Drinks are on me tonight. Gaki, I like you more and more each time you summon me. I am ungraceful but I will do my best. I will try to help you but I am clumsy. With that said, all 3 toads jumped towards the snakes. Gamaken dropped from the sky quickly stabbing the snake on the left with his dual swords, one through the head and one through the tail, not giving it a chance to dispel before it died. Gamahero landed on top of the snake of the left causing it to dispel and Gamabunta landed in front of the snake. Bunta, give me oil. Right. Bunta sprayed a large stream of oil at the snake, which was too surprised of the sudden entrance of the chief toad to do anything, but Naruto created a stream of fire that lit the oil, burning the snake alive, forcing it to dispel. Bunta, you and your brothers can stay and watch this if you want, he said as they all looked on towards the army a mile away of 1,000 strong. All right Gaki, I want to see what you're made of anyway, just don't die, you still owe me sake. I knew you cared, boss, Naruto said with a small smile before jumping down from the toad and started walking towards the enemy's army. He felt thrilled to be able to battle such a large number on his own, but a part of him felt sad that he would have to kill so many today. Forgive me for what I am about to do, I only take solace in the fact that this is for my home and you must be destroyed if it is to remain safe. Forgive me, Kurenai. Even after all stuff he thought she was hiding, he still loved her with all his heart and couldn't bear to think of her looking at him like a monster for what was about to happen. He deactivated his resistance seals and chakra weights to give him a speed boost. Hikari-chan, you are with me, right? I have always been with you and will be with you always, Naruto. Thank you for staying with me, Hikari. I am kind of scared at the moment. I mean, sure, I have faced several strong ninja and came out on top, but this is a goddamn army. I hope my father and mother are watching me from above, for my legend is about to truly begin. I'm sure they are proud of you, Naruto. He smiled as he felt her watching his every move, ready to lend him chakra if needed. He placed his stoic facade and continued walking towards the army that stopped as soon as they saw someone approaching. They laughed when they saw a boy no more than 14 standing in front of them with his arms crossed. 3 boss-ranked summons watched from behind, standing in all the glory, attracting attention from several jonin who have started with stage 3 of the plan. They would be here in less than 10 minutes. A jonin from Suna stepped forwards from the army and laughed. They send a boy to fight a war. What kind of village is this? I have one question, he said, making them laugh at him still. And what would that be? Do you want to dance? He said before grinning and activating his Sharingan, causing several of the army to falter before they even start. He started to walk towards the army before picking up speed and eventually running at full speed towards the army. "I want to dance," he said as he met the first man in the army, quickly snapping his neck. Using his superior speed from months of training with his resistance seals and chakra weights, he made quick work of the smaller cannon fodder of the army. He was being brutally efficient when it came to killing the enemy because he didn't want to waste energy that he was sure he would need. Jumping over about 20 enemies before landing with his feet on an enemy nin's shoulders and twisting his neck to snap it, he fell forwards and used his weight to grab 2 kunai from the enemy's pouch. Sharingan eyes ablaze, twitching at all the information he was taking in, predicting several movements from the enemy, allowing him to react. He threw the kunai he stole and plunged them into 2 enemies' chests. He didn't have time to react before a sound nin threw a kunai with explosive note at him, hoping to hurt him. With the foresight of the Sharingan, he saw the kunai coming and caught it at the last minute in mid-air before sticking the tag on an enemy and kicking him into a crowd and throwing the kunai back to the sound nin, leaving the tag to explode near the ninja's friends. Whilst this was going on, a crowd of jonin were forming by the summons. They watched as this 13-year-old boy systematically destroyed around 60 shinobi in under 10 minutes and was not even looking winded. "Holy shit, look at the Gaki go!" came the voice of one Anko Mitarashi, getting nods from several other jonin including Ibiki, Kakashi, Guy and Kurenai, who were finished at the stadium and came to hold the gate whilst sending their genin teams away to the shelters. Kakashi watched on with Itachi as Naruto got blown back from the crowd by a fan-wielding Sunanin. Kakashi and Itachi's first instincts were to run to him and help him up, but the sword of Gamabunta stopped them in their paths. "You will not pass. The Gaki wanted this and he will get it." "Why?" He said something about people getting in the way. Itachi and Kakashi stepped back whilst watching Naruto stand up and wipe the dust off of his skin. He had long since lost his t-shirt in the fighting and was now bare-chested in front of the army, standing defiantly. "I've been waiting for a chance to use this. 4 months with 200 clones working 12 hours a day to recreate this jutsu that has been lost to time itself. Bear in mind that it isn't complete yet, but here we go," he said whilst going through several hand seals and gathering enough compressed chakra in his lungs to summon Gamabunta twice before saying, "Kaiten, Goku Mekyaku." A stream of fire sprayed out of his mouth, and when it reached 5 meters away from him, it suddenly started to decompress and widen and grow in height till there was a wall of flames 15 meters wide that felt so intense that several of the jonin had to look away from it. 200 men, in a matter of minutes. Destroyed. Annihilated. Decimated. The Konoha jonin watched on in awe and a little fear as they saw a legendary jutsu born anew in a boy that they all assumed was a demon. That was the worst possible combination. Anko whistled in admiration at the display of power. "Hikari-chan, how much chakra do I have left?" "About 2/3 Ds. Using that much chakra in the jutsu had amazing results but cost you some of your reserves. I will refill them when you get to 30%, otherwise it would bring you unneeded fatigue." "Arigato Hikari-chan. Now lesson 1. Taijutsu is finished. Lesson 2. Ninjutsu is currently in progress. Lesson 3 is yet to start, and for an added bonus, why not include Lesson 4, which is Kenjutsu? The remaining army, which was about 750 enemies, were looking at him like he was a madman. They knew no one that had this much chakra or this skilled at his age, but they would be damned if they would give up. Their country was on the line, and as soon as this boy was out of the way, they would storm the lead and take it. Too bad they hadn't noticed the group of jonins by the summons yet. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. A clone appeared beside him and both nodded to each other and started the hand seals necessary to perform the jutsu they had in mind. Kaiten, Kuryu Enden, Futon, Daytopper, a dragon was breathed out by the original, whilst the clone created an extremely strong gust of wind to increase the dragon's strength from low rank to high A rank. Some of the army was unprepared for what was coming, and it took out a group of 30 nin, once again causing havoc within the enemy's ranks. Last part of lesson 2 for now, guys. Prepare yourselves. Hikari-chan, prepare please. This is mostly going to drain me to about 25%, so if you could refill me, that would be great. No problem, Naruto-kun, she said without noticing the kun suffix she added by accident. Kakashi had wide eyes at what he was seeing Naruto do. This was turning into a slaughter rather than an invasion, and the combination jutsu he saw Naruto use was amazing. Most jonin don't have the harmony to do attacks like that, but he supposed that when you do the attack with a clone of yourself, timing wasn't really all that important. His eyes widened even further when he heard Naruto's next jutsu. He wasn't aware that Naruto had managed to upgrade this. Raiten, Taju Rayonzu around his body lightning seemed to shoot off of him and he shot both palms forward in a thrusting motion to begin the jutsu. 10 massive lightning lions shot out of his palm and looked towards the army before charging a good space apart. Jumping into the army, the lions dispersed, leaving the shocking effect that killed a good 30 people per lion and leaving others stunned. A good 400 men were left standing from the original 1,000 that approached the gates. Hikari-chan, refill please. Already happening, Naruto-kun, she said with neither noticing the suffix again. Naruto heard cheers from behind him and turned around to see around 150 jonin looking at him and what was left of the army. He heard a collective gasp from them. It took him a minute or two to figure out, but he realized that he was using his Sharingan and didn't have any Genjutsu covering him. He sighed. Ah shit. Cat's out of the bag, Naruto. No shit. He sighed again before turning back to the army. Lesson 2, Ninjutsu, complete. Lesson 3, Genjutsu, commence. He looked over the army and cast a wide area genjutsu that would eat up his chakra like a bitch. Since it was spread so wide, he created it to take advantage of a genjutsu that someone had already made. It would be dual layered, with the first layer showing the opponent's teammates turning into a clone of the caster, and the second layer would activate a subtle genjutsu that someone made a long time ago called Magen, Higai Moso no Jutsu. The two layers fuse to become one big genjutsu, which forces the recipient of the genjutsu to think that they are being attacked by clones of themselves when really it's just their teammates under genjutsu. They forget to check thanks to the second layer of genjutsu, which induces a bout of paranoia, making them think they are being betrayed by anyone. Magen, Jinsei no Uragiri, he said loud enough for the jonin by the summons to hear. Itachi smirks as they all watch the sand and sound turn on each other, trying to kill their enemies that have infiltrated their ranks. Itachi chose to explain this genjutsu since no one except him and Naruto knew about it. This genjutsu is a genjutsu that he created when he was younger. He decided that it is a technique not to be used against a comrade. He made it purely for turning enemies against each other. He thinks about genjutsu from outside the box, so to speak. Instead of layering genjutsu like most jonin do, he creates the layers and merges them together, making it harder for them to break, and only he knows how to do this. I know the theory of how to do it as well, but I can't. He is better at genjutsu than me. This technique makes the enemy think that their ranks are infiltrated by shadow clones before they become paranoid because of the second layer of genjutsu, which utilizes a genjutsu created long ago called Magen, Higai Moso no Jutsu. They forget to break out of it due to the second layer attacking them with paranoia, and soon they all turn on each other. By the time Itachi had finished explaining the genjutsu, there were only 70 men left. He decided to stop the genjutsu and move on to the added lesson of kenjutsu. Men were shouting about how they killed their own friends, and only now did they realize they were in a genjutsu. Congratulations to those of you that are left. You have survived the standard 3 combat situations that I was taught by my previous senseis. Now this would be all well and good, but I decided to add an extra lesson today to explain why I earned my nickname as Konoha's Red Devil, Kenjutsu. So without further ado, welcome to class. Lesson 4, Kenjutsu, commence. Unsheathing both chakra sabers slowly with one in reverse grip whilst the other was held forwardly, he passed his chakra through the blades and made the glow visibly blood red. The jonin stood by the summons, amazed by the weapons. Chakra sabers were really rare nowadays since they were hard to make and even harder to find the metals for them. Azu used to be a key supplier for chakra sabers before it fell. Wasting no more time, he sprinted at high jonin speeds before decapitating 3 and slitting the throats of 2 others. Dodging under the wind-enhanced kunai from Asuna, Nin Naruto quickly used his speed to slice at key points on the body to make the ninja bleed out quickly. This continued for 10 minutes. Naruto would use his speed and built-up flexibility from his training to weave through the enemies before slicing at an unshielded artery or stabbing them in the livers through the back. When all was said and done, one man stood away from Naruto begging for mercy. "You will go back to your precious Sunagakure and you will tell them why it is a bad idea to attack my home. I will lay waste to Suna should they consider this again, and I will not stop until I have torn Suna asunder. Do you understand me?" The man nodded quickly before turning around and fleeing. The world would know why attacking his home was bad. They would know how far he would go to protect those he cared for, and they would know that there was a Sharingan user besides Itachi, Kakashi and his foolish little cousin left in the world. He sighed before turning to the jonin that were half a mile away with the summons. He started to walk away from the massacre that took place and left the bodies. When he managed to get away from the corpses, he stared at the Jonin before activating his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and turning to face the aftermath of the battle site. Amaterasu, black flames covered the corpses, burning them till nothing remained but ashes. He sheathed his sabers and started walking towards the Jonins. The last thing he remembered before he blacked out was Kakashi and Itachi calling his name before he fell face first on the ground. He remembered thinking about how Kurenai didn't even look at him when he collapsed. He would have to figure things out between them before their relationship went any further. She was starting to hurt him quite badly and he had been hurt too many times to not intervene anymore. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.